electronics bale brikama marché konole dami yalon ko afele nyaabe tilinding Arab Gambia Islamic Bankola badingol ngale yurwa betiyata de sako nanata business ola fannala wala ya sabu ntolu electronics ngadinkira kutole sotale brikama nyambai mi yalon ko fele nyaabe tilinding ja oil essentiel wala fengo feng ni anata joran kendo la kabirin ning electric jorangol lembang fo sola jorangolo asifa o sifa nyindingira fulol to nar fotata jedron albe sotola sonea kon na fenkutolu natale bini boko air conditionolu aning electrical cable lolu kata wayalu asifa o sifa kandia wata na stand fanol sotale la nin ceiling fanolu anu nga water dispenser sotale le mini alon ko nadiate ise jikando bondi wale jusuma bondi tabir lan jorangolo nga sifa bele soto kabirin blender solo aning microwave folo andum fanan nga fridge lo sotale le mini alon ko ka kurangota aning fanan e ka sola fanan tamande kurango fanan bokalo nyentemboto wala ya sabu nga generate kutolu sambale mini alon ko ibtamando be soneare aning TV stanolo nimbe ise sotonole jama sandiro wala kilin sandiro na nyimbitiki kutode jede nal fotata je nyimfengo sifa bele bije foni chol fanan kabirin sirango lomba fo tabulo lomba aning fengo fenni wala ka bungo na nyanyandi nga bele sotale wala electronic natale kalo da hande na lafta nyimfengo bela alin kumandi
788 9398 981 9398 wala 678 9398 wala liye email ibrahima@gmail.com.
electronics femo adadima abete arimo andu nati nyata ne asambanya na wicho kono mini warranty soto nsa josele
dalal wa sun programme bi na Mobalu programme ni ko faral defé moy ci social en ko dé defé waye dafa né tay guest buñ am mom olof la dégga té ci Gambia bi laka bi nga dégga rek ñu dem ak yow lolu tax Gambia né tay na Mobalu man mi awmané ma dé tok ci programme bi amna guest bu maga mak fi waye bala ma dem ci guest bi rek ma nuyu jaajëfal sun sponsor yi mi nga nek electronics ñoo dé sponsor programme bi fi sen boutique bi nek mo nek ci Brikama marché bi opposite Ajik Bank bo fa demee electronic bagage façon boobu nga ding si am ma introduce my guest bi muy Emmananuel Joof chairperson of NHRC mooy National Human Rights Commission ñoom ñoo leen taxawal nit ñi di xeexal nit ñi seen rights yi lu ma def rek mooy dinaa bàyyi chairman si boppam mu nuyuwante ak ñi suma guest bi moom pour mu wax mën a wax seen function bi ak kanay Emmananuel Joof si English la moo gën a comfortable kon lu ñoo def mooy English mooy suñu official language mënu ñoo wax nag bàyyi ko si gannaaw lu ñoo def rek dañ ko bàyyi mu introduce boppam ñu wax si anglais suñ paree di leen delluwaat si local language si mu gën koo setal dangaa gis audience yi mun a gën a xam lu mu nekk di wax dinaa bàyyi suma guest mu nuyonti waaye good afternoon sir and welcome to the program.
Good afternoon and thank you very much. Thank you.
We would like you to introduce yourself to the people before we go in detail to the program.
Yes, I am Emmananuel Joof. I'm the current chairperson of the National Human Rights Commission of the Gambia, National Human Rights Commission for Human Rights.
We are glad having you on the program. Can you briefly tell us who is Emmananuel Joof?
Yes, I am a lawyer by profession. Of course, I'm a Gambian. My specialty is in the area of human rights. This is where I have a master's in international law of human rights. But also I have, during my career, I have worked here in the Gambia as a lawyer, as a magistrate, as a program officer for the African Center for Democracy and Human Rights Studies, and also as a legal officer for the African Society of International and Comparative Law here. I was also a founding member of the Coalition of Human Rights Defenders in the Gambia during the time of the struggle. I later left also the shores of the country. I worked with United Nations Development Program. I also worked with United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees in the Sudan and also in South Sudan. I also work with an organization, international organization called International Development Law Organization. When I came back home after so many years of being away, I also was made the chairperson of the Faraba Banta Commission, the incident that happened in Faraba Banta in 2018. And in 2019, I was sworn in as part of the 5 commissioners as the chairperson to establish the National Human Rights Commission of the Gambia. So in a nutshell, this is who I am, and that's what I've been doing.
When you were talking about, you said you were one time a magistrate.
Yes.
Was that during Jammeh's time or Barrow's time?
Yes, it was. No, this was a long time ago. I'm talking about 1997 to 1999. So that was
a long time ago.
That it just tells you that I'm not getting any younger nowadays.
Before,
but yes.
Before going to you being in NHRC, let's go a little bit back to, you mentioned about the Faraba Banta.
Yes.
How was that case like?
Yes, the Faraba Banta Commission of Inquiry, as you know, the incident happened somewhat in 2018 when the villagers of Faraba Banta revolted against mining licenses that was given to a particular proprietor. And unfortunately, the police, the PIU officers who were present there opened fire. 3 people died, many were injured. And of course, there was a lot of, there was arson, there was a lot of fighting, a lot of destruction and damage. And the government set up this commission of inquiry at the time to find out, for a start, what happened, who ordered the shooting, how did the people die, why did it happen, and also to make a recommendation so that such an incident will not happen again in the Gambia. In a nutshell, that was the Faraba Banta Commission of Inquiry.
You were part of the commission, but those PIU officers, were they held accountable for what they've done?
Well, the commission came up with recommendations about not only the PIU officers, but it also recommended that those responsible for the shootings, should face justice. It also recommended those who committed arson, because a lot of houses were burned after the aftermath, should be prosecuted. Those who suffered injury should be compensated, among many other things. Then the government set up a committee. So the committee is on. I've seen that they have the white paper that came out. They have actually honored a big part of it, but I would say that I don't think not all the recommendations were actually implemented. Yes. So,
but part of it were implemented.
Part of it were implemented. But you see, once we did the job, it was handed over to that committee who were supposed to implement the recommendations.
Yeah, I understand the commission has limited powers when it comes to prosecuting people or perpetrators. You do your findings and recommendations and give it to the government. But do you make follow-ups to make sure that those recommendations are implemented?
What are you talking about, the Faraba Banta?
The Faraba Banta, yes.
Well, the Faraba Banta Commission of Inquiry was for a particular period. Once the commission is dissolved, it was up now to the government to follow up with the implementation of the recommendations. So it was the committee that was set up, which was headed by I think the Solicitor General then, Charna Marina, who was supposed to implement. So the job of the commission then finished when they handed over their report to the government.
Thank you very much. We'll come back to the NHRC, where you're currently working as the chairperson, the chairman of the National Human Rights Commission. Tell us the function of the National Human Rights Commission.
Yes, the National Human Rights Commission, I know a lot of people say commission, but this commission, it's a permanent commission.
It's a permanent one.
It's a permanent one.
It's not
unlike
like
the Faraba Banta, the
TRRC
Commission, the TRRC. This is a permanent commission that was set up. It's part of the transitional justice processes that were set up. But this particular commission was set up to bring back a culture of rule of law and human rights in the country, following 22 years of dictatorship and systemic violation of human rights. So the commission is set up. It's 5 commissioners, 5 permanent commissioners with full-time, 2 of whom must be ladies, and they've been given a broad mandate to promote and protect human rights. The commission has powers to investigate and receive complaints of human rights violation. It can monitor human rights violation. It has an advisory role. It can convene it has quasi-judicial powers. It can set up as a court to hear violations of human rights and make recommendations and make sure that those recommendations are enforced. It also has advisory role. It advises the government to change laws that are not compatible with human rights, with, for example, the treaties and conventions that the Gambia has ratified. We have powers to do mediation. We hold conferences. We do a lot of research. If you've been watching, you know that we have been monitoring the elections.
Yes.
We have been throughout. We came up with recommendations.
Yes, and your findings.
Yes, and findings. So the Commission has a very broad mandate. When it comes to, and it's not only civil and political rights, when it comes to economic, social, cultural rights, the right to environment, these are all rights that the National Human Rights Commission will monitor, will investigate, and the Commission is mandated that every year, statutorily, we have to come up with a report which we take to the National Assembly to tell the National Assembly that during that year, this is what happened. This is what we find out on all those areas involving human rights, but not also that the recommendations, because this is the oversight. This is the institution that has oversight over us. So we report back to the National Assembly, and we also meet with the President to discuss the findings, because he's the head of the executive, and to also advise him on what needs to be done. So it's a very broad mandate that we do. Unfortunately, sometimes people see us only as a complaints body. We are more than that. We are beyond that. We're supposed to raise awareness. We're supposed to do human rights education. So whenever you talk about human rights, the National Human Rights Commission has a role to play. Whether
vital one for that matter.
Whether it's minority rights, whether it's rights of the disabled, women's rights. These are all rights that we are supposed to monitor and advise the governments on.
When was this commission set up? When did it start?
Okay, the act setting up the commission was in 2017, but the commission became operational on the 14th of February 2019. So we are just 3 years old, although there is a lot of talk about the National Human Rights Commission. But we are actually very new.
And 3 years to date is not 3 days.
Yes.
It's been a whole long 3 years.
Yes. But if I may just add something, and I think I need to tell you that although we have just been operational in 3 years, last week, the what is called the Global Alliance for National Human Rights Institutions all over the world that partner with the UN gave this country, our National Human Rights Commission, a grade A. I will explain what that is, a grade A status. And this is done through their subcommittee comprising of the 4 continents, representatives from America, from Asia Pacific, from Europe, and from Africa. And through a vigorous review process, we have been granted A. Not every country has grade A.
Grade A.
Senegal, who has a long standing of human rights, only has grade B. Just to tell you that.
For 3 years, you have grade A.
In 3 years, we have been accredited with grade A. And this is because of the recognition given that we do our work in compliance with what is called the Paris Principles. Human rights is work in progress. You cannot solve all the problems. But the fact that within 3 years we've been able to establish, and we are actually dealing with all these issues. We are tackling these issues. And they thought it was fitting to give this National Human Rights Institution of the Gambia a grade A. Just for you to know as well.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And take us through with some of the things that you do when human rights are being violated.
Yes. As I've mentioned to you, we have powers to investigate, but we also receive complaints. We have people can actually just call us. They can just walk in, and we have this what is called confidentiality. So if you know that there is an issue involving any human rights violation, you can tell us. But we also have a Department of Legal and Investigation, and this is manned by qualified trained lawyers. And also ex-police officers, very qualified investigators who man that directorate.
They are working with the commission.
Oh yeah, they're working with the commission. So we do our investigations independently. So even if a violation happens, we don't just take it from what the police is saying or what civil society is saying.
We do our own investigation.
We do our own independent investigation. But you see, we also have powers to go to any government office. We have powers to visit detention facilities. And we do that. We actually do go. We have
you go to prisons
and unannounced, for your information.
Unannounced.
Yes, the law gives us that power. All we need to do is when we get there, we knock at the doors and say, National Human Rights Commission, we want to have access. And this has been very successful. We do these things, so we have these powers of investigation. But monitoring is constant. We monitor everything. And in fact, sometimes people tell us, why are you people everywhere? Because we have been told to be everywhere. You see, if we're not everywhere, people are asking us, where is National Human Rights Commission? So we monitor. So anything that deals with human rights. For example, the elections are human rights matters. Because the right to vote is a fundamental human right. And the right to vote is inextricably linked to the freedom of expression, freedom of association, freedom to participate. So these are things that we do. So whether it's prisons, whether it's on detention, whether it's the fish meal factories, when it's to do with pollution, the Human Rights Commission does investigation. So this we do constantly. It's one of our core mandates, investigation and monitoring.
Well, from 2017 to date, so many human rights violations have occurred in this country, especially with the PIO officers violating people's rights. And in another aspect, we've seen people who also attacking the PIO officers. We've seen you releasing a statement condemning it. Do you always stop at condemning, or you make sure that the perpetrators are being brought to book? You engage the officers involved in the issue and the state to make sure that those perpetrators are brought to book? Because we've seen the National Human Rights Commission will condemn. But have you taken anyone to court to prosecute, to make sure that those whose rights have been violated have the justice they deserve?
Okay. Of course, press release we do issue. Because when something happens and is a violation, the National Human Rights must and should issue a press release to alert the authorities and so that everybody will know. But let me tell you, you see, the thing is, the work of the National Human Rights Commission, it's a lot. We do a lot of work with the police. We made sure that the police came up with a code of conduct, because once we realized that human rights violation,
did a great job on that. So.
Human rights violation occur, we take the police to task, and we said, listen, not only do we condemn, but you need to give capacity to your staff so that we will stop this violation. But let me just give you an example, just to tell you that it's not just the press release. If you remember, was it last year, 2 years ago, the case of Ibrahima Sane, the person who was allegedly violated by the head of the anti-crime, I don't know whether you remember that incident.
Yes, I remember.
We actually, there was a committee that was set up here where we had a hybrid hearing chaired by the National Human Rights Commission. And the person, and Gurkimbu was found wanting.
Yes.
Not only that, it was recommended that he will be removed as head of anti-crime, and that was done. And also monetary compensation was given to the victim. But also we came up with the other series of recommendations to make sure that the capacity of the police is built. But let me even come closer to home, Mengbe Kering. During the 3 years Jotna incident, your radio station was closed.
Yes.
Not only did we had a press release on the issue, talking to the government, we summoned the Minister of Justice to this office. We also summoned the Minister of Information. We also summoned GPU. And it was in this office that we had a very interesting, heated conversation. But you know what that meant? Immediately after, Mengbe Kering and King FM were open.
Yes.
So, but you see, these are things that the people easily forget. There is a lot of work we do outside, a lot of work we do behind the scenes. When we engage the IGP, sometimes you're not there. Mengbe Kering is not there. But I'm just giving you an example. When radio stations were open, When we sat here and told the Minister of Justice, no. We told the Minister of Information, if there are issues, let us follow due process. This radio station should be open. And they were open. So there's a lot of things we do. Yes, there is demand. There is the need for justice. But we are not a court of law as well. We don't take matters to court.
Why?
Because the National Human Rights Commission is not a commission that takes matters to court. This is not our job. We have quasi-judicial. We can set up something similar to a court. We can file what is called an amicus curiae brief. That is a friend of the court to advise the court. But you see, because we also have advisory role to government. You see, this is what happened. We also tell the government, you need to change A, B, C, D, E. We make our recommendations, which are enforceable, but we don't take the government to court because that is not our role. That is the role of other institutions that we have an MOU with. Like we have a memorandum of understanding with Female Lawyers Association and others. But we do not, the mandate of this commission is not to take the government to court. We can hold the government accountable.
But you can take them to court.
We don't take them to court. So, and this is something that people should understand, is the mandate of the commission. You see, our mandate, as I said, is so broad. It's also advisory. When something happens, we can go and talk to the executive straight away and tell them that you are violating human rights. And we are going to set up a commission of inquiry to deal with the matter, and we will, to investigate. So these are the things that we do. So yes, our mandate also has its limitations, because a lot of times people feel that, well, they should take the government to court. That is not the mandate of the National Human Rights Commission, despite the broad mandate that we have.
Well, you can investigate, condemn, release a press
monitor.
Yes,
but we
can advise.
We can in our recommendations, we can make what is called, we can give remedial action. That is even compensation. We have done that. We have done that with the drug squad just recently, where we stated that somebody's rights were violated, they were assaulted, and they should pay monetary compensation. But we don't stop there. We also recommend that they train their staff, they change their staff, they hold their staff accountable. So there are a lot of things that we can do. We advise the government to change the laws. For example, our Public Order Act, which is very problematic in the sense that everybody talks about it, that the IGP can refuse anybody permit.
Yes.
Which is in the law.
To demonstrate.
Yes. So we have actually saying that the government should change the Public Order Act so that rather than permit, it should be notification. We've also worked together with the IGP to come up with what is called policing of public assemblies, how it's done in other democratic countries, so that this incident, for example, that happened in Birkama, which you mentioned, which was a very ugly sight.
Yes.
It was an ugly sight. We all saw that.
Yes. I was on ground.
Yes. A man who was beaten by about 5-6 police officers who, and we spoke to the IGP. We have gone past that stage. If the person has done something wrong, arrest them. Yes. Take them to court. But also, I think I also hasten to add that we also must understand that we cannot have a country that is not governable. We have to be very honest about it. There are responsibilities. The government is the duty bearer. It must respect, protect, and fulfill the fundamental rights of the people. But the people also, you cannot also go around stoning police officers. Let's be honest about these things. Because at the end of the day, don't take the law into your own hands. Even if you are frustrated, let us use due process. Because at the end of the day, I think all what we want is to create a better society. A Gambia where rule of law prevails. A Gambia where there is due process. So nobody should be above the law. President Barrow should not be above the law. The police should not be. But individuals or even parties, nobody should be above the law. So, but this is something that we need to inculcate. So when you say this, sometimes the government is not happy with us, but that's fine. Sometimes people are not happy with us and they tell us we were toothless. But I can give you a lot of reasons, things that you know and things that you don't know, that the National Human Rights Commission had actually intervened. And this is what the subcommittee for accreditation of the GANRI and the UN looked at and said, no, this is a National Human Rights Commission that is actually very effective. When COVID-19 happened, we wrote to the president a petition and said, we've observed that the prisons are a place where COVID-19 can quickly spread.
Yes.
use your prerogative of mercy and let us release prisoners who are not violent, prisoners who have not committed offenses against, like rape, sexual offenses. But let's look at and review and allow them to go. And let us also make the prisons better, among many other things. And the president did. These are many things that, as a National Human Rights Commission, we do every day. We have we have research. We are working on the caste system among the Sarahole communities. We are working on
where
that.
they saying others are slaves.
Yes, we have commissioned a report. We have working together with the Supreme Islamic Council to change the mindset of the people. But of course, these are things you don't hear. There's a lot of things that the National Human Rights Commission. We have commissioned a report on sexual violence in the workplace, among sexual discrimination in the workplace, and these are the many things that we do as a National Human Rights Commission.
Sorry to interject. The National Human Rights Commission have been condemning, releasing press statements, but things keep reoccurring every time, especially with the police. Things keep recurring, and people will, maybe they will say, National Human Rights Commission, doing def dara, all they can do is wahrak lagare wala you gain a statement, they can take us to court. Don't you think this commission need to be empowered so that people can respect your voice when you release a statement or condemn act? Those involved will understand or respect this institution as the protector of human rights violations, because things kept recurring despite you guiding them or talking to them or engaging them, those involved, but things kept reoccurring and people are not happy with that. Yeah,
you see, there is when the transitional justice process started, there is what we call the security sector reform. There's a lot of things that needs to be done. You see, 22 years, again, this is not an excuse for the police. And this is why we force them to start with even a code of conduct. A police, you must have a code of conduct. Because the police have been operating in a particular way for many, many years. And we believe that they should change. And part of the capacity building, and we've started a program with the UN you need to not only reform the police, but you also need to weed out people who have been there for long and doing things the same way. So this is one. Number two, you are right as well. There has to be sanction. Those who are investigated and have to have committed violation should also be put to book.
Those found wanting.
Those found wanting. Yeah. And if you know that the courts, for example, recently, they've even awarded. It's not us who just awarded. The court has actually awarded damages against the police for them to pay because of violation of rights. And we're working together with the IGP. Changing mindsets is very difficult. But we've told him as a National Human Rights Commission that we really need to be serious. Because most of the complaints, and you're right, even most of the complaints that we have up to now, today, it's to do with issues involving police brutality. Either it's the police or the drug squad or immigration, but mainly the police. And it's work in progress. I'm not defending the police, but we are, as I tell you, as I speak to you right now, we have engaged with the UN and the IGP and the police high command to make sure that we have a police force that respects the rule of law, a police force that will not use force against, or reasonable force. But also, let's also be honest, we don't condone police brutality, but we must also understand that we must have a society that has to be law-abiding. Nobody should condone people throwing stones at the police. Yes. Because the police have also been mandated to protect lives, liberty, limb. You see, and whenever we have a problem, the first place we run to is the police, yes. Whether we like it or not. Yeah. There are two professions that are really hated and loved at the same time. Yeah. I always say it's the police and lawyers. Everybody, they have them small lawyer be. And at the same time, people hate it. And then it's the same with the police. Yeah. You have a problem, you go there. But that notwithstanding, there is a lot of work. If I'm going to tell you this, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And the police have started, but more work needs to be done.
Things that have been done about the security sector reform. I think there is a lot of work that needs to be done when it comes to that aspect. And You said you've been engaging the UN, the IGP.
Yes.
Do you think there will be a positive outcome?
No, there will be a positive outcome. There will be, because you see, once you, to start with, you need to, as they say, capacitate those police officers. You have to streamline human rights in their day-to-day work. And this needs to be done, and it's toward the whole police force. We have been engaging different cadres, senior, mid-level, and junior level. So it has to come down completely. And I think this is where the issue is. When you have discussions with the middle management, they tell you that this is not what we told them to do. But they're doing it. So which means that there is a gap somewhere. Yes, it's taking time. It's work in progress, and it's something that is priority in the work that we do, having a police force that respect and uphold human rights, but also having a Gambian society that also respect due process and law abiding. The two go together.
It's not an easy job, Mr. Joof, but do you know that many Gambians are not happy with the NHRC because they believe that you are not protecting them enough, or you're not standing for their right enough? Because especially when you release the last press release about the incident that happened in Brikama, on social media, so many comments were not positive about the NHRC. They saying the NHRC doing dara, then they release statement like, don't you think you guys need to be more empowered to stand for the people the way they want it? Yeah,
you see, an institution like the NHRC, today we'll have friends, tomorrow we'll have enemies. I remember when we made sure that the Mengbe Kering was open, we had praises all over the place. Yes, this thing happens to us.
Yeah.
And then this incident that you're talking about, and actually this incident, we got criticism from two camps. It was a very political issue, really, because it was to do with the nomination.
In fact, it is political.
So most of the criticism that we got also came from UDP.
Yes.
But I will also tell you that when the press release came, we had a lot of criticism from NPP because they said, how come we are criticizing the police? The UDP were stoning the police. Yes. We should have said that they should go and arrest all those people. So the thing is this, we listen to public opinion, but we will not always be guided by public opinion. Because public opinion sometimes is, it waves and wanes.
What favors you.
Yes, and depends on who is talking. We felt that it was necessary immediately. In fact, you are saying that people said press release. 2 hours after it happened, when I was sent the video, I saw people saying that, hey, this thing happened 3 hours ago. We have not even had the
NHRC.
Exactly.
Yes.
You see the point.
Yes.
So when early in the morning, when we sat, we looked at the video. We also have to look at videos because we have a lot of information, and we have to look at all these things. We sit down as a team. When we issued that press release, remember that we were told that we have not said anything. This useless organization. When we issued that press release to start with, guess what? Now we got attacked from both sides. UDP were saying we are useless. Of course, you'll have some will always say they are on point. This is what we need. There are also some who say good things. But also, let me tell you also, those who are anti-Sabali and belong to the other party abuse us as saying, so I'm just trying to make the point. But not only that, but just to tell you, if they felt that we're useless, do you know that the next day, here in my office, they brought the young man who was assaulted. And he was brought by UDP stalwarts to lay a complaint by the national.
The young man was brought in here.
He was brought in here. And I call in our investigators and our lawyers to interview him. And the issue is being, as I speak to you,
it's been investigated.
Yes, not only is it being investigated, we have actually spoken to very high command about the matter.
The UNDA,
but I'm just trying to explain to you that these are the things what happen. But you see, what happens is, yes, our mandate is limited, as I told you. Although we have powers of investigation, we have powers to hold a quasi-judicial investigation. Even when we hold the case of Gorgimbu, some people were very happy. others were very angry. They said we should lock up Gorgimbu for 5 years.
Yes.
We don't have powers to lock people in jail.
And so we are saying Gorgi is good for Kanifing, around Kanifing, because there are many criminals out there.
Yeah, and I'm very happy you are very honest. When actually the recommendation said that Gorgi should be removed here, we got criticism.
Yes.
And some people actually told me that, Mr. Chairman, you're the one encouraging crime in the Kanifing area.
Yes.
So what I'm just saying is, we understand that the job we're doing is not easy. We will get criticism, but we are guided by our mandate and by our mantra, let justice guide our action. We will continue to do that, and we'll try to explain to people, we have been tasked with creating a better society. In so doing, you will get criticism from all sides. And actually, it does make me happy a bit, because if only criticism was coming from one side, then I would say, well, maybe I'm favoring one group. But sometimes the government is very angry with us. But to be honest with them, they allow us to do our work. They don't interfere, but we hear. But at the same time, sometimes civil society is not. But sometimes civil society will be very happy with us. In fact, there were instances when they said, no, we will not trust the investigation of the police. We will trust the outcome coming from the National Human Rights Commission. And that also gives us, what would I say? Say that this is the nature of the job. As I've kept on saying, we don't sell ice cream. And if you don't sell ice cream, then not everybody will clap for you. So this is the nature of our work. We go
into election. Like you said, elections are part of the fundamental human rights of the people, the right to vote. Campaigns are on. And recently, you organized a dialogue between parties, CSOs, so that we can have a peaceful election. Do you engage political party leaders to talk to people about hate speech? Especially hate speech is common, and tribal sentiment in their campaigns. Do you engage people about those issues to avoid, because whenever there is violence in the country, people's rights must be violated in those incidents? Just
after the nomination, which we also monitored throughout. I was even in Mankamakunda and Dobong. Each commissioner had a team of investigators and lawyers.
Do you monitor nominations?
We monitored the nomination of the presidential.
And also
we are monitoring the campaigns.
Campaign as well.
Yes, and also the voting. Yeah. But for the parliamentary election, we didn't actually monitor nomination, but we are monitoring the
campaigns.
Yes, you will see our staff everywhere. You see my jacket is there. I have 2 jackets that I wear when we go.
You go in the field to check what's going on.
I go to the field. So what I tell you is evidence based. I don't sit in my office. When I tell you that this is what we found, this is exactly because I was part of the team. So, but coming back to your question, hate speech was a big concern to us. That was why, just after the nomination, and we saw it, and we were very happy when they signed the IEC Code of Conduct and the Janjam Bure Peace Pledge, which is and the party signed it. And we used that peace pledge. In fact, before they started talking about the peace pledge, we started going around each of the executive of the parties. And this is the talk that we explained to them that the country, the future is in their hands. Because most of the time, when people express hate speech, when they express issues relating to violence, they do it in the name of a party. But if you have the party leader of NPP or UDP saying that our party stands for peace, it does a lot.
We don't condone hate speech.
We don't condone hate speech. And just to answer your questions, we did that. We met with almost most of all of them. If we didn't meet with you, it's because either you were too busy on the campaign or whatever, but we did. And sometimes they came here, sometimes we went to their office. I remember even Bakari Bunja, we went to his office, Bunja Davo. Oh yeah. We did. We went to CA, we went to Kanifing, we went to Ahmad Ba, Spati, all of them. Yes. NPP, we went to actually State House. We met with Barrow and his team. Yeah. So we have done that because remember, we have been tasked with creating a better society, a society where human rights is protected, promoted, and respected, and it is our job. It is elections that legitimizes the whole process. And if you look at the conflicts in Africa, the drivers of conflicts is when people dispute elections, and it's important that not only the nomination process, which is key, but the campaign process must be seen to be fair. the election process must also be seen to be fair.
And IEC can be left out of that.
No, IEC is the number one institute. What we do is to complement the work of the IEC. The IEC is the institution that has been mandated to manage elections. This is their job. But in so doing, we as a National Human Rights Commission, we also are there checking and even we do talk to IEC. There's a lot of talking that we do to IEC. We go, I have met with the chair and the team. Last week I had traveled, but my vice chair, we went there to iron out a few issues. We talk to the IEC all the time. And whenever, if you read, we will give you, I don't know whether you have the compendium of a report.
Yes, I have it. I was at the dialogue.
You were at the dialogue.
Yes.
You look at it for the first time. So when people tell you we're not doing anything, show them. Yes, tell them. Because, and it's a comprehensive report coming from the National Human Rights Commission. Nobody has done it as comprehensive as it has been done. And if you look at that, we didn't mince our words. What we said things against NPP that we found, it's there. We made recommendation to the IEC, to political parties, to civil society, to everybody. So people say, what do we do? You know, if you go through that document,
yes,
you know that we do a lot.
And still on people's human rights, I was on ground on election day, and I have not seen anything convenient for people with disabilities to be able to vote conveniently for a conducive environment for people with disabilities. Are you engaging IEC on those issues?
No, we do. And if you look at our report, in fact, we first earmarked it during the nomination period. Not during the registration period. We went through, I told you I was in Mankama, Dobo, and other places. We saw that some registration centers were not disability friendly.
Yes.
And we advised them that as we go through voting, make sure that at least the ground is level or there is a ramp. We also saw that there was no sign language or braille. And we raised it with them. And in our report, we discovered that they had improved during the voting period. But it still leaves a lot to be desired.
Yes.
So they did some improvements, but there is much to be done. And this is what we'll take with them, because elections will be here with us forever. So this, and if you look at our report, it's there. It's there. There's nothing that we left out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything is okay.
Yes.
You did also recommend the state TV, which is GRTS,
yes.
and they are covering the event of all the candidates, contestants.
Although GRTS, they did well. We are not the only ones who said that they did well.
Yes, they did
Even the EU mentioned that. But of course, they are also a state TV.
Yes.
They need to be fair. The others are commercial. So I'm
you
sure.
Can force them.
Yes, you can
need
force
to pay
them.
to do that.
Yes, exactly. But they did a good job. But not only that, despite the fact that we even talked about the police. For the first time in the government election that I actually remember, each presidential candidate was given 33.
Exactly.
Yeah, guys, you know, what used to happen before is they were Ashobi.
And that's
and they will stop the opposition. So let us also...
look at the positive side.
Yes, we can be blinded by our political affiliation. It's natural.
Yes.
We can be emotional. I am not saying it's all rosy. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. But these are positive things that happen. Despite all the criticism and you know, and we have to also comment that, you know, it happened. All the political...
And the IGP did great on that, giving all the political parties.
And they were given, I think, this throughout the campaign. I think they gave it 3 weeks and even 3 days after the election until things died down. So these are things that, and listen, I'm not the only one saying it. I'm not buttering the IGP or the government. We also had international observers who were here not only for the day. The AU observer mission was here for almost 2 months.
They were here throughout.
No, they were here. So I'm not just making it. We may disagree with certain things, and there are a lot of other issues that came out. But it was it 100% perfect?
No,
maybe not. But did we follow the ground rules? I think observers that went through other countries and saw what happened say that, well, this was a very good election, given where we're coming from and what used to happen. So these things, but then again, you cannot satisfy everybody. And the National Human Rights Commission knows that we will not satisfy everybody. We will get abuse from left, right, and center, but we'll take it. We're here to serve the people. But we look at also the criticism, and then we move ahead to better whatever we're doing.
And a very interesting I will not say interview.
ñu dugg ci wolof
si dialogue waaye ndeysaan waxtaan baa ngi neex trop waaye ñu ma wax ne waxtu fi mu nekk nii bëreetul waaye dinaa bëgg nga summarize tuuti pour suñu mbokki ñi nga xamante ne ñoom dégguñu angale ñu gën a mën a xam ne Mr Daniel Joof lan la nekk di wax tey.
waaw man Emmanuel Daniel Joof man Gambien la lawyer la Gambia la yero Gambia la judo faaxee ko Banjul lawyer la nag nekk liggéey naa fii nekk naa magistrate waaye man suma li ma gën a jànga ak suma mun ci liggéeyi lawyer mooy pour aar ak yelleefi doomu aadama loolu nag def naa ko ci biti liggéey naa for about 12 to 15 years maa ngi ci biti boori East Africa South Sudan Kenya di liggéey ci yi
di aar axi ñi rek
waaw muy refugee yi ngeen di dégg mooy ñi nga xam ne ñu ngi am problème ci xeex yi doon am area yooyu yëpp liggéey naa si yooyu te time ba Yaya Jammeh nekkee fii noot ñun ñëpp man ci nga xam ne ñoo sosoon mbootaay ba ñoo ooyee coalition of human rights defenders ca laa bokkoon man ñoom Ba Tambidou Fatou Diagne of article 19 ñoom Adile Socé ak ñu bare ñun ñoo sosoon mbootaay boobu noonu pour xeex ko pour wan la rek ne suñ ne human rights kii fan la jógee suma human rights liggéey yàgg na fi te du tey ba liggéey naa fi African Center for Democracy and Human Rights Studies ak yooyu ñi gën a tuuti fii xamoon nañ ne amoon na tànk sax dama daan binda ci observer bi area bi ñoo woowee human rights column with Emmanuel Joof so yàgg naa ci mbiri ak yelleefi doomu aadama ba ma ñibbisee Gambie nag man lañ joxoon itam di ñoo ooyee Faraba Banta Commission of Inquiry waxtaan nañ si tuuti laaj nga ma ne la waaw recommendation suñ def nag anga nag waaye nag ba commission ba jeexalee seen liggéey dañ jox liggéey government bi ñoom ñoo set up woon
ñoo war a implement
waaw am na nag yuñ def am na yuñ deful waaye ñu ngi leen di wax rek ne ñu continuer di def li ñu waxoon yëpp ni moom lañ war a def waaye nag ci suma liggéey depuis 2019 bañ sasee National Human Rights Commission bi nag di ngeen di dégg nag commission yu bare waaye commission bi nag moom dañ ko saxal fii lu sax la ba faw ba pare nag dëgg la government bi moo ko act of National Assembly waaye dafa moom boppam bokkut ci du Minister of Justice du ko wax li moo def waa Adama Barrow sax léeg-léeg mu mer waaye duñu wax li ñu war a def comme ñeneen ñi rek ni ñoo mere waaye nag jox nañ ñu doole bu bare pour ay yelleefi doomu aadama muy loolu nag moom lu mu ëmb dafa bare the right to life ni ñu ko waxee muy dunda bakken ni nit ay jànga right to education health suñ wéruwaay education naka lañ ko waxee even suñ dëkkuwaay environment koo xam ne police bi su fekkee ne daf la jàppa sax daf la war a jàppa ci yoon xam nga yaa ngee wax ne lu mel ni police bi benn tey liggéey bu bare
war na si dugg réforme
waaye yaa ngee fàtte ne amoon na jamono joo xam ne yow interview boo ko def nii sax soo fi génnee dinañ la jàppa 1 month 3 months 6 months man maa la wax Emmanuel Joof ne léegi police yi mënuñoo jàppa kenn moo den suñ koo yëg ñun fii suñ office pour wax la rek
di ngeen si taxaw
not only dañ see taxaw dañ dee dem ci seel yi ne leen lu tax kii ñu jàpp ko te am na jamono ñoo xam ne ñun dégg nañ ni jàpp nañ nit balaa 72 heures balaa ñu faa egga release nañ ko pour wax la rek ne nit ñi nag nañ wax ne loolu rek la ñoo def waaye xam nga duñ dee puugaroo lu nekk ñu puugaroo ko ne ko tey génnee nañ diw sàngam ci jéel bi xam nga duñ dee def loolu waaye pour wax la rek ne comme que ñoom sax xam nañ ne suñ bët yi mu ngi fu nekk waaye nag comme ni ma ko waxee rek dëgg la liggéey bu bare am nañ pour def ko benn tey surtout ci liggéey boobu ci fànn boobu mooy police yi waaye tey jii ñu ngi am tey loolu yëpp ñu ngi ko geestu tey nit su la tooñee mun ngaa dem ci code bi léeg-léeg nag nit ñi tey xam nga nag doomu aadama moo mel ni mel maa ngi fàttaliku bañ génnee Yakumba Jayte ñu su président bi ne ko amuloo doole pour def loolu code bi ne président bi amul doole nañ delloo ko Yakumba mu delloo
te delloo na ko foofu noonu
ñëpp kontaan waaye nag xam nga doo tey di nga kontaan ba mu xewee nag am na ñoo xam ne féetewoon nañ beneen side kontaan nañu woon si loolu ñu ngi ne waa kii nag ñii kañ dañ yàpp sax président bi lii def bi mu sa am kii dañ ko yàpp su doon time kii waaye nag léegi su code bi décidé otherwise ñëpp awaati nii ne code bi nekku fi doomu aadama ak moo mel noonu waaye nag kuy doxal dëgga ndax ci loi bi la ndax ci Human Rights Commission bi da nga war a fàtta sa bët def li war because loi moo fa nekk su yàggee nag sax nit ñi dinañ gis sa njëriñ ñi d'accord yow sax dinañ gis ne ñoom nii lañ ko doxalee waaye nag ñun ñu ngi fi pour te ñun ñëpp lañ fi nekkal moo ñi nga xam ne yàlla def leen teg natu sax disable mënuñoo gis mënuñoo wax li ñoo ooyee Disability Act ñun pousse nañ government bi yàgg na fi ñu ngi koo wax ba léegi government bi pass nañ ko door na nag pour ñu war koo implement waaye dafa am yu bare yi xew muy yëf yi nga xam ne muy ndaw yi muy jigéen ñi seen aaxa dañ leen ko war a jox when it comes to sexual violence rape li yëpp mu ngi am
rape bi de bari na si dëkk bi
mu ngi am si dëkk bi te dafa
te nag si taxaw
te ñu ngi cee wax te bëgg nañ kilifa diine yi ak aada yi nañ si jóg wax parce que loolu ñun ñu ngi si nekk si loolu lañ nekk soo waxee aaxa ak yelleefi doomu aadama moom laay wax du yëppi rek yëfi police loolu bokk na si waaye lim wër dafa bare te ñun si liggéey yooyu yëpp lañu war ñu wax nañ yëfi élection ñu ngi si amul looy tudde si yëfi human rights fu mu nekk ci dëkk bii
yi nga xamante ne taxaw la
te doo gis national human rights léeg-léeg sax am na ñoo xam ne dañoo wax ne ñi dañ ëppal torop gis naa ko am na ñoo xam ne ñu ne yéen luñ wax rek
ngeen wax si
yéen a ngi si wax yéen lii mooy lan waaye nag fekk nag loolu la ñuy wax dañ si war a wax because su fekkee sax munuñ si def dara war nañoo oo government si saa si ne ko mane ñun lii ak lii lañ sign with international UN convention de waaye yéen li ngeen di def
àndul ak loi wala àndal ak loi
wala constitution bi mu ne section lii mu ne lii ak lii waaye yéen li ngeen nekk di def àndu te loi de te li ma laa wax lii toujours nag ñu ngi koo def xam nga suñ bindee government suñ bindee baro duñ la ko dee yëga waaye toujours te dinañu dee tontu because loi yi dafa ne suñ la bindee jënd la 30 days
pour nga tontu
te dinañu dee tontu dinañu dee wax ne waaw dinañ dee tontu ne so ñu ngi ci lii ak lii am nañ jafe-jafe si lii ak lii su ko defee ñu leen waaye da ngeen di try
doguma la sa de waaye waxoon nga si buñ doon wax si kàllaama angale waxoon nga ne da ngeen dee engage National Assembly members yi
waaw
naka la seen response day nekk ak seen liggéey bi ak ñoom
waaw
parce que ñoom ñoo dee nekk ñi nga xamante ne ñoo dee defar loi bi si ñoom la dee dem
waaw mu ngoo ñoom loi bi dafa sax ne at bu jot so gis nga élection bi su ñëw di nga ma gis man ak suma commissioner yi ñu dem parlement parce que dañoo dem yóbbu lan lañ find out in 2021 naka la dëkk bi doxee ñi police yi assault lan lañ si wax ne leen yéen a ñuy yóbbante parce que ñoom ñoo am oversight institution ñoom ñoo ñu dee bàyyi xel lii ak lii te bugga nañ leen ngeen oo ministre sàngam bugga nañ leen ngeen oo so ñun suñ liggéey ak nii la suñ liggéey ak ñoom
National Assembly members
te pare dañ leen di fàttali ne fàttaleen party politics the standing committee of human rights pour ñëpp la
better representé
te loolu nag dinañ ko gën a def si parlement bii di ñëw surtout bañ amee status A dañ ñu jox àdduna si dañ ñu jox ne ñun National Human Rights of Gambia dañ ñu jox status A ne parce que bàyyi nañ xel ci human rights yi ñun ñetti at yi ñu am eeloon nañoo status A Sénégal sax status bii lañ am pour wan ne nag ne
da ngay am fit
wax nañu ne wax nañu ne nag ñu yokk a gën a def liggéey bu baax wax nañu loolu wax nañu sax ne bugg nañ ngeen gën a def li liggéey bi fii dem leen gisi président mi ngeen wax ne am na sax yu ñu sas waaye ñoom li ñu wax mooy ñoom liñ bàyyi seen xel si ñetti at institution surtout dëkk bi fañ jógee institution bi eeloo na status A te nag dinañ continuer dinañ leen déglu nag léeg-léeg nag ngeen mbéj ñu fii ñu mer waaye dinañ toogaat naan ndox bu sedda ne waaw ok
waaye liggéeyal
wax nañ dëgga
liggéeyal mel noonu liggéeyal doomi adama moo mel noonu
waaw doomi adama waaw because lii dafa niñ ko ooyee human rights dafa legal dafa political so affaire si toujours nag noonu la toujours noonu la dégguloo li ma la wax bañ dóoree bañ ko fii lañ ko indi nañu chairman lii moo xew pour wan la rek
waaye ñu ma wax ne waxtu bi dafa jeex ndeysaan waxtaan bi mu ngi gën a neex trop waaye ñu ma wax ne waxtu bi fu mu nekk daanaka dafa jeex waaye xam naa bii mu nekk na first time waaye du nekk last time dinañ ñëw fii si Emmananuel Daniel Joof njiit ko wax ak moom waxtaan ak moom parce que moom fu mu taxaw dafa important trop mu ngi aar nit ñi kon loolu am na solo trop Emmananuel Daniel Joof ñu ngi laa wax ne balaa ngaa dem lan mooy sa kàddu si nit ñi nga xamante ne ñu ngi laa seetaan ak déglu
waaw li ma bëgg a wax rek mooy Gambie ñun ñëpp ñoo ko moom National Human Rights Commission yéen ñëpp la fi nekkal dëgg la nag mënuñoo solve problème bi yëpp waaye nag ñu ngee try de ndax yëg ngeen ko ndax yëgu leen ko lu am te loo leen wax ndax d'accorduñ si sax waaye ñu ngi koo seet di ko segga parce que dëkk bi ñun ñoo ko moom te dañ war a créer liñ ko wooyee better society su ko defee Gambia nekk dëkk bu ñoo ndamoo suñu xoolee gestu yeneen dëkk suñu boor ñu ne ñun de nii lañ tuutee waaye dëkk boo xam ne dëkki luwaa la dëkk boo xam ne dañ bugg a suñ boppa di dégluwante jàmm ji le ñooy te ndax tribe ndax xeet bi nga bokka ndax ak amut sax ndax diine bi nga bokka di dañ ko war a wax nag dëkk boo xam ne sooy xool nag social media fu mu nekk man dama dee tiit léeg-léeg ma dégg kaddu gi nag te fu nekk la day jógee kaddu mbañ dafa door di bari si dëkk bi mbañ ndi kii xeet bii la bokka wala religion bale la jógee wala kii religion bii la jógee wala kii sax si religion bii la bokka waaye lii la ahmadiya la oo lii nañ leen bàyyi loolu ñu bokka nekk benn na suñ jikko nekk li ñoo pugaroo not just tribe bañ jógee au religion na suñ jikko suñ ne Emmanuel Joof na ne moom nag lii ak lii la du pour ne rek christian la du pour ne muslim la du pour ne séeréer la pour ne mankaañ la wala olo soo ñu defee ko noonu rek waaye boo ko nekk benn waaye nag yóbbu dëkka neexut si la bokk nag foog ñu xuloo government dafa mel ni kër rek muy yow sa jabar yow sa mag ak sista xuloo bi moom foog mu am waaye nag foog ñu jagar ko dañ am pour dëkka together soo loolu laay wax rek ñuy continuer di waxtaan di waxante dëgga di leen merewante waaye nag Gambie lañu am de
ñu fàttali la ko ñoo nekk benn ñooy demante si ngénte ak taka ñooy suul la am na solo torop di ko ne jërëjëf Emmanuel Joof kontaan nañ tey torop pour am na si programme na Mobalu kontaan nañ moom moo nekk chairperson ni National Human Rights Commission kontaan nañ torop pour am ko fii mu wax highlight li nga xamante ne loo leen dee def criticize na dina la wax ne loolu de di ngeen ko gën a am parce que sooy liggéeyal nit yombut di jaajëfal suñu sponsor yi ñu nekk electronics nga xam ne ñoo dee sponsor programme bi di leen ne jërëjëf suma caméraman bi Omar Bojang ak Serif di leen ne jërëjëf ñoo ma nekkal si gannaaw caméra bi li nag ñoo tax nda tey ngeen maa gis fii kon am na solo torop di leen ne jërëjëf dinaa kontaan torop su mu ne dooleel National Human Rights Commission ñu mën a yóbbu ñi ñuy court hold leen accountable dina ma neex torop ndax Emmanuel Joof dina liggéey si loolu noonu dina ma neex torop da nga gis ne képp koo xamante ne fii violate nga right ñi ñi rek ñoom dinañ si taxaw dinañ ragal ne National Human Rights Commission ñu ngi fii de duñ em rek si binda wala duñ em rek si condemn waaye dina la yóbbu court ñu make sure ne you pay to your crimes kon jërëjëf ba suñ ñëwee next week Wednesday man la woon Awa Mane jërëjëf
electronics bale brikama marché konole dami yalon ko afele nyaabe tilinding Arab Gambia Islamic Bankola badingol ngale yurwa betiyata de sako nanata business ola fannala wala ya sabu ntolu electronics ngadinkira kutole sotale brikama nyambai mi yalon ko fele nyaabe tilinding ja oil essentiel wala fengo feng ni anata joran kendol la kabirin ning electric jorangol lembang fo sola jorangolo asifa o sifa nyindinkira fulol to nar fotata jeto albe sotola sonaya kon na fenkutolu natale mini boko air conditionolu anin electrical cable lolu kata wayalo asifa o sifa kandiya wata na stand fanol sotale la anin ceiling fanolu anu na water dispenser sotale la mini alon ko nadiate isa jikando bondi wale jusuma bondi tabirlan jorangolu na sifa bele soto kabirin blender solo anin microwave folo anu fanan na fridge lolu sotale le mini alon ko ka kurangota anin fanan e ka sola fanan tamande kurango fanan bukalo nyentemboto wala ya sabu na generate kutolu sambale mini alon ko ibtamando be soneare anin TV stanolo nimbe ise sodonole jama sandiro wala kilin sandiro na nyimbitiki kutode jede nal fotata je nyimfengo sifa bele bije fonitol fanan kabirin sidangol lomba fo tabulo lomba anin fengo fenni wala ka bungo na nyinyandi nga bele sotale wala electronic natale kalo da hande na lafta nyimfengol bela alin kumande
788-9398 981-9398 wala 678-9398 wala liye email ibrahima@gmail.com
electronics femo adadima abeteyarimo andu nati nyata ne asambanya na wicho kono mene warranty soto nsa josele